China, industrial powerhouse and urban giant. But beyond the familiar images of bristling skylines and busy streets is a different China. This is a land of extremes, a land of great natural beauty, a land where resourceful people have built extraordinary lives against the odds. The hunters, the gatherers, and the generations waiting to take their place. On this journey of discovery, we plunge deep into a remarkable, mysterious and hidden world. Get ready to enter Secret China. This episode of Secret China journeys to some of the highest and remotest corners of this diverse nation, telling the extraordinary stories of the people who make a living and a life here. For communities rich in ingenuity and determination to prosper. In places where nothing comes easy, but the rewards are great. In eastern China, a village transformed by the discovery of priceless stones tries to balance family tradition with its newfound wealth. Meters above sea level on the edge of the wild Tibetan plateau, a 13-year-old jockey seeks to earn his spurs as a master horseman, just as his ancestors did. And amid the icy expanse of Inner Mongolia's frozen heart, a group of fishermen use an ingenious ancient technique to hunt for a bounty beneath the ice. But our journey into Secret China begins near the east coast, in the county of Anji, in Zhejiang province. With the story of a family business built around one of China's greatest exports and proudest traditions: tea. But this is a tea born of legend and found in only one valley on Earth. This is Anji white tea. Famed for its sweet aroma and stress-combating properties. Texts dating back over 1,000 years to the Tang dynasty describe a strange variety of green tea with jade-white leaves. The account was thought to be simply legend until the 1980s, when a lone tea bush with distinctive whitish leaves was discovered in a corner of Anji Valley. Experts determined it was indeed a long-lost variety, and from this one sapling has grown an industry which now yields 1,500 tons of tea a year, worth over $200 million. And here is the fabled mother tree, lovingly tended by its owner, Pan Chunhua. She's one of a small band of farmers who cultivate Anji white tea at her family's 10-hectare plantation.
我以前也是在这里采茶叶的啊，16岁就在这里了，40多年了。
It's April, and spring is bringing the valley out of its winter slumber. But the steadily warming weather gives Chunhua a problem. The unique properties of Anji tea mean that she and her team of pickers are working under intense pressure.
天气下雨，那个后面的山很高啊，你们当心滑是吧？啊，那你把一般的全部带到那后面去的。哎，好。
They have just 30 days to pick and process her entire crop.
白天在查，晚夜操查。最近还没睡床的，一下天亮了又要起来，又要到山上去查。那1至2个月来，我们的自己也辛苦，外面去查的人也很苦。
The window for picking is so short because Anji tea leaves mature quicker than other varieties. As the temperature climbs in late April, the light green leaves turn darker. This diminishes the crop's value, so Chunhua sets each of her pickers the target of collecting 2,000 leaves per day. The hope is 500 kilograms of tea can be processed this season, worth up to $24,000 US. The ladies must work quickly, but also accurately, selecting only leaves of precisely the right maturity. This billion-dollar global commodity has been hand-picked like this for millennia. Back at home, Chunhua prepares a meal for the ladies' return. She must look after her valuable pickers because many tough days lie ahead. After hours in the field, it's a welcome sight. But today's work is not complete. The picked tea must be hand-sorted and then baked to lock in the flavor. Before Chunhua faces a race to get her crop to market ahead of the rival growers dotted across this secret valley. Over 1,500 kilometers west, overshadowed by the greatest mountains on Earth, lies the Tibetan Plateau. This is a land of contrasting extremes. A vast tabletop of sparse grassland 4,000 meters above sea level. So wild and unforgiving that only the hardiest of livestock can survive. Yet it's also a place where spiritual peace is found amid the wilderness. On the far eastern edge of these plains is the remote Kampa region and the village of Shamalong. It's June, and today the village is eerily quiet. High above the houses, up on their sacred mountain, a celebration is underway. Shamalong's annual horse festival. A carnival rich in color and family celebration. It gives a chance for the villagers to honor their revered horses. This year's festival is particularly special for 13-year-old Tudang Dwoji. Tomorrow, he will ride as the youngest entrant in the festival's grueling showpiece. A 5-kilometer race across the plateau. The Dwoji family are gathered for a meal in the tent they set up on the plains. Tudang's love for horses comes from his father, Arpei, who breeds and sells them.
다 그렇게 그런 소소가 거꾸로 겨도 더 만든 엠비치 단디미지 그지 하자마치 당아지 치즈 거고 티 라파노나 땡고 메브저나리 디미지 그 하마치 다 위견적 못함 그래.
He hopes that Tudung can become the fourth generation of the family to ride horses at elite level. After he's stocked up on energy, Tudung's mother makes final touches to the ceremonial costume that he'll proudly wear for part of tomorrow's festivities. Outside in the paddock, the horses go through the final stages of grooming. Tomorrow's competitors trim the manes of their horse so the hairs stand perfectly on end, and clip their hooves to protect the horses from injury whilst they gallop. Final job of the day is to lead the horses down the hillside to the lush valley for a feed. Tomorrow, Tudung and his horse will put their close bond to the test on the racetrack. As dusk creeps across the quiet tranquility of the Tibetan plateau, 2,000 kilometers due east, a vibrant village community is enjoying an altogether more animated evening. In northwest Zhejiang province is the village of Yushan. Until recently, this was a quiet, traditional community, but it's been transformed thanks to prosperity from a surprising source. Yushan has built a formidable economy around a rare and mysterious mineral found only here and at one other place on the planet. Chunghua stone is commonly known as chicken blood stone because of its striking red speckled surface. These unusual stones bring a frenzy of dealers, tourists and collectors to Yushan in the hope they too can claim a piece of this marvel of nature. The buyers are looking for stones with potential to be carved into highly collectible ornamental stamps and seals. The best examples of this stunning craftsmanship can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. And the lucky red speckling generates the highest prices of all. This industry is so valuable that it provides a living for nearly everybody in the village. Like Shaolin Zhong. He's on the front line in the search for these precious rocks. But this new prosperity has put Yushan at a crossroads. In one direction, there's the desire to preserve its deep heritage and shared community values. In the other, the lure of commerce and wealth is threatening a pace of change out of step with traditional life here. Shaolin Zhong manages one of the many mines that riddle Yuyan Mountain like wormholes. His daily commute takes him along the same path his father first led him as a 10-year-old, up to the mountain they call Jade Cliff. Chicken blood stones were first mined here during the Ming dynasty more than 500 years ago. But it's only recently become a huge industry here in Yushan. Each day, Xiaolin Zhong's team venture deep inside the mountain in the hunt for their prize. They hack through the endless earth in search of the rare seams of red colouring where the chicken bloodstones may be found. The red comes from a mercury ore called cinnabar. It's often found in quartz rock, but in minute quantities. Here, it occasionally erupts in intense bursts. Lin Zhong's team bring the mined rocks out into the daylight for a closer inspection. It's the women's job to sort through the pile, pulling out any rocks that might have enough of the coveted red markings.
千日不见功嘛，一日见千功嘛。
Today is one of the lucky ones. They've made an exciting find.
好重的这个东西，7、8斤吧，大概。
If the quality is high, this single rock could raise enough at auction to even cover the $15,000 it cost to open this mine.
差不多吧。
And it isn't only Lin Zhong and the miners who will benefit from the sale, it's the whole village. Because Jade Cliff is co-owned by the people of Yushan, so every penny made from every stone sold is shared by the population. The villagers hope this policy will keep profiteers and wealthy outsiders from taking over their unique industry. Now Lin Zhong's thoughts are turning to a huge event. Yushan's annual chicken blood stone auction, where villagers will discover if the rocks the miners have unearthed will sell for enough to keep the coffers full for another year. Back in the secluded Anji Valley, Chunhua's team of pickers are sorting through the tens of thousands of leaves they have harvested today. To hit her target of producing 500 kilos of processed tea in 1 month, Chunhua needs her team to make the most of every day. The freshly picked leaves are spread out onto bamboo trays, and the ladies sort through the piles, meticulously removing any stems or dead leaves. The monotonous job of sorting by hand is vital. Chunhua is dedicated to hand processing her tea. The hard work on the tea plantation also creates a strong sense of camaraderie. Leaves that make the grade will then be left to dry in the shade in a process called withering. As light fades, another day draws to a close for the pickers. Whilst the ladies return down the valley to their villages, Chunhua's work will continue. She faces processing today's tea crop long into the night. Up on the very fringes of northern China lies Dali Nur Lake on the great prairies of Inner Mongolia. These vast expanses of grassland, dotted with grazing herds of goats, provide a stunning backdrop for the herders and farmers who make this place their home. But when the flowers wither and winter comes, the temperature here can plummet to minus 30 degrees. The landscape takes on a far harsher appearance. And a new species emerges. The ice fisherman. At the front line is Meng Shui Chen, native of the area and ice fisherman of more than 30 years' experience. Today, he and his team of 20 men are at their winter fishing site of Dali Nur Lake. The 220 square kilometre lake is frozen. Even so, they aim to land a bumper catch from beneath the ice. For this group of local workers, it offers good winter earnings to top up their summer jobs, protecting the ecological beauty of the area. But it's no easy shift. Half a metre beneath their feet, the water is a perishing 4 degrees centigrade. Bad for swimming, but great for fishing. Meng knows the crucian carp found here would normally be spread throughout the whole lake. But when the chill comes, they pile up together in the warmer channels. Meng must draw on all his past experience to estimate where those channels are.
拿冰船来，快往口袋，把冰船拿来卸下来。今天咱们选择这块下网，这块呢比较是适合鲫鱼生存，鲫鱼就像我的菊，每年也出红网。这地方每年像这个地方得出2、3万斤左右。
But the bitter cold that makes the fish such a clear target also creates a huge challenge. To even get the net into the water, the men must dig through 50 centimetres of ice. At least the hard physical work keeps the cold at bay. With the lake exposed, the men slide a 30-metre-long ice jigger into the water. This clever contraption will drag the net through the first part of its journey. And it's not just any net. To maximise the chance of success, Meng has supersized the operation. The net is so big, it could cover Tiananmen Square 3 times over.
咱们这长度有2.5公里长，宽度是600、700米左右吧，就是。要不啥兜不住鱼，是打不住鱼的。
A big net means a big challenge, getting it into the lake in the first place. Meng can't simply drag it behind a boat. They need to rely on brute strength to get it into position. The enormous net is in fact 3 nets stitched together by hand. Meng hopes this central grey netting will be filled with carp at the end of the day. The whole thing is submerged under the ice and must now be dragged out to its full length. The way this is done is ingenious. Meng positions his men carefully at 9-meter intervals across the lake on precisely the line he wants the net to run. Working in a relay system, each man carves a hole in the ice through which they can hook the net and drag it past.
走60个左右吧。这个杆子从这上网口过来的，一个眼儿一个眼儿的，走干人员从这走的，就是杆子后面拖着网，但是他得从这个冰眼走杆的。后面一会儿你看后面那走杆的，他从这眼儿插上叉子之后，一个一个往过走。
After a few hours, slowly but surely, the entire length of the net has been dragged out along the lake bed. But fishing here is getting tougher with each passing winter. Dalinor Lake is shrinking because more and more water upstream is being diverted for factories and irrigation. And because the lake bed is so rich in sodium carbonate, thanks to the ash from ancient volcanic eruptions, the salt concentration of the water is increasing, and that's bad for fish numbers and catch sizes. In this changing climate, Meng's team must wait and hope all their efforts have been worthwhile. High on the Tibetan Plateau in southwestern China, it's race day at Shamalung's horse festival. The race's youngest competitor, 13-year-old Tudung, is waking up under canvas. Today he hopes to join his forefathers on the list of master riders to herald from his family. He has a lot to do, including working with his father to get his horse ready for the race ahead. But this festival isn't just about racing. First, there is an important Buddhist prayer gathering, meaning ceremonial costume is the order of the day. The villagers weave their way to the highest point on the mountain. At the summit is a spot, the nearest they can get to God, where worshippers gather in a sight visible from miles around. Worshippers throw prayer papers known as lungda high into the air and burn cypress branches to cleanse spirits and placate the mountain gods. Villagers like Tudung have brought their horses here to be blessed. They're believed to have been purebred in the region for over 1,000 years. These sturdy horses carried Tudung's ancestors into battle, and they've been used to herd yak since the plateau was first settled. With the prayer ceremony complete, Tudung's attention now turns to the main event. Dressed in his bright race colors, he goes through the final calming routine with his horse, Hong Ma. At the start, over 100 riders jostle for position. It's a nervous moment for Tudung and for his father watching on. Finally, they're away. The course is rough and dangerous, but Nangchen horses are bred for this kind of challenge. They're sure-footed even on rocky, uneven terrain. And their enlarged lungs help compensate for air with barely half the oxygen found at sea level. Tudung is running well, near the front, as the riders race towards the finish. Back in Yushan, in mountainous northwest Zhejiang province, the village is gearing up for an auction of its famous chicken blood stone rocks. Sales of this extraordinary stone have transformed the fortunes of the village in recent years. But the cooperative system, which means all the income from the stones is shared amongst the population, has also ensured the proud heritage of Yushan remains intact. One building above all others epitomizes the unity that bonds the villagers. The lineage temple is dedicated to the 90% of Yushan's population who share one surname, Shao. This sacred building is also the venue chosen for the auction, which they hope will maintain their income for another year. With the auction signage finished, nearby the raw-mined rocks are being coated with a liquid which brings out their texture. Mine manager Xiaolin Zhong is under intense pressure because he's been chosen to lead today's auction. With the room filling up, the first lots are brought out. It's a frenetic, tense environment with buyers fighting to get their hands on each precious stone. Hands feel for the texture, whilst eyes scan the surface, hunting for examples they think can be carved into the most valuable ornaments. Soon, money is changing hands.
土办法的拍嘛，只要你叫出口，不管是小孩的、老人的，肯定你要。
Behind the scenes, Lin Zhong has decided the time is right to open the safe and bring out a stone of unimaginable rarity. This 30-centimeter wide piece of Chunghua stone may look like all the others, but to the trained eye, it's a variety known as Qianhuang, meaning yellow field. Due to its yellow coloring, the stone is already unusual. But when laced with chicken blood speckling, it's even more precious. If this special rock sells for as much as Lin Zhong hopes, the village could be very wealthy indeed by the end of the day. Out in the auction room, the big buyers have arrived. As the Qianhuang stone is brought out, the room hums with anticipation. And it's an instant hit with the crowd. The bidding opens at a massive 1.5 million yuan, $240,000 US. But Lin Jung believes it's worth more. Torrential rain arrives all of a sudden, but nothing can stop the flood of bids. The Tianhuang stone eventually sells for 2.3 million yuan. That's more than $350,000 US. It's been a hugely successful day. But Lin Jung knows there are still precious chicken blood stones waiting to be found. Tomorrow, he'll lead his men back into the mine in the hope fate will smile on them, and they will unearth the next million yuan rock. Back on the icy surface of Dalinor Lake in Inner Mongolia, fisherman Meng and his team are ice fishing on an epic scale. For 8 hours, the 2.5-kilometer net is sat under the ice. It's time to pull it out. Thanks to a mix of machine and man, the vast net emerges slowly from the freezing depths. It's back-breaking work, but the men know the more the net weighs, the bigger their bounty. Meng and his men are about to find out if all today's efforts have been worthwhile. If Meng picked the correct location, the net will be bulging with crucian carp, worth up to $12,000 per ton, and the team will head home happy. It looks like a decent catch, but the weight of fish is only around 3.5 tons, much less than the 10 tons Meng was hoping for. From here, the haul of carp will be transported to markets as far away as Beijing. For generations, ingenious and hardy ice fishermen have made a living from the way crucian carp gather beneath the ice here. Next winter, Meng and his team will be back. Back in Anji County in eastern China, Pan Chunhua's team of pickers have brought in another harvest of highly coveted Anji white tea. Now the race is on to bake tens of thousands of leaves and package the crop for market. It's a mammoth job that'll take much of the night. So during picking season, she often calls on her son, Gui Xincai, to help with the workload.
我们是茶农，祖祖辈辈都制茶为业的，就是。山上的茶叶呢，可以说是无公害的啊，对旁边的污染没有。再说不打农也不是化肥，在这里海拔也比较高，俗话说高山有好茶，就存在这个问题。
Shinsai respects his mother's traditional techniques, but he's also keen to introduce a few of his own modern ideas into the family business. Inside the tea factory, Chunhua tackles this demanding process the way she believes works best, by hand. The first stage is known as the kill-green step, where the tea leaves are heated in a wok. It's crucial to control the heating time. If the leaves are overheated, they turn unappealingly brown. If they're underheated, the flavor is not fully baked in. Then the leaves are rolled into wrinkled strips to allow the juice to seep out of each leaf evenly. It adds up to hot, repetitive work for Chunhua. But her son, Shinsai, has invested in what he believes is a faster and more efficient way to prepare the leaves, without a drop-off in quality. In 2013, he bought this tea processing machine, which automates the baking and replaces everything Chunhua does by hand. The machine is heated to over 200 degrees C to heat out the moisture from the leaves. At the right moment, he places wooden pins into the machine. To grind the leaves and replicate the hand-rolling technique Chunhua employs. It's vital that the leaves don't become over-dry, so their texture is constantly checked by hand. A much more difficult task for Shinsai.
制茶的时候要有细心，不然有半点马虎。不管是传统的还是手工的，一定要把茶叶的品质做好。
With the machine work finished, the leaves are ready for the final baking process. The leaves are carefully checked and tossed before being baked over charcoal. Chunhua relies on a traditional bamboo basket suspended over the heat. But once again, Shinsai has innovated. He's designed a multi-layer drying oven to increase productivity. Chunhua may still prefer her traditional methods, but finding a balance between the old and the new has seen the family increase their yield to 500 kilograms of tea per year. And here's the result. Anji white tea ready to be packaged.
有时炒茶炒到3、4点钟，我就扛着茶叶下山，也习惯了。
With another valuable crop heading to market, for Chunhua, it's a chance to reflect on the good fortune that brought Anji white tea to her family. And how this rare and precious variety of tea continues to bring prosperity to this quiet corner of rural China. Far to the west, on the barren expanse of the Tibetan plateau, 13-year-old Tudang is nearing the end of a 5-kilometer horse race. After a bruising test of horse and rider, the race reaches a steep rocky ride to the finish. The leaders make it through. And hot on their heels, Tudang crosses the line. He's eager to get back to his family to celebrate. It's a particularly special moment for a proud father who's seen his son come of age. The crowd flocks to the presentation arena. Tudung is keen to find out where he placed. It's great news. He's been awarded 7th place, which delights his father and brings Tudung a financial reward. Before the festival draws to a close, the best of the riders are invited to demonstrate their horsemanship to the crowd. Resplendent in their traditional costumes, the riders gallop with only feet in stirrups, dipping their arms as low as they can. It's a skill not everyone has mastered, but one that Tudung is at home with, thanks to years of training from his father. The close bond he and his horse have built is there for all to see. It's an image that for centuries has graced this awe-inspiring place on the roof of the world. In the far-flung corners of China, traditional communities carve a living in remote and rugged landscapes. In the icy north, ingenious carp fishermen have worked out how to beat the iron grip of winter together. In the east, mining families pool the fruits of their labors so the old community solidarity can flourish. And in Anji Valley, 2 generations combine their knowledge of old and new to bring back a long-lost treasure. Innovation and tradition live on side by side in the hidden corners of secret China.